Hello and welcome to my scary story collection. Sit back, enjoy and just relax to some creepy tales from the past and the present. See you soon.
I'm on a train, and I keep seeing the same man at every stop. By Robert Mort. It happened on Sunday night. I was taking the 11:47 p.m. Amtrak from Washington, D.C. to New York City after visiting my boyfriend. As we pulled up to the Aberdeen stop, I saw him, a man standing outside on the platform. He stood with his back to the train, under the shadow of the station's awning. Tall, well-built. Despite the muggy July heat, he wore a long trench coat and a hat. Standing perfectly still, he stuck out like a sore thumb against the passengers hurrying off the train. Weird. I had taken this train back from errands many times before and rarely saw anyone get on this late, especially at a tiny stop like Aberdeen. As the doors whooshed open, I waited for him to board. But he didn't. He didn't even turn around. What's he doing out there, if not boarding? Waiting for another train, maybe? With a clank, the train started back up again. I shrugged and turned up the volume on my journey playlist. Lights flashed across the windows as we picked up speed. In the distance, the twinkling lights of a town, a highway, with pairs of headlights rolling past, a colossal antenna flashing red at the top. The grays and blacks of the ground smudged into a blur, melting into the purple sky. My eyes fluttered closed. Now arriving in Wilmington, Delaware. The conductor's voice from the overhead speakers jolted me awake. I stretched, popped my earbuds out, and looked around. The train car was empty now. The two girls who had been sitting near the back were gone. Yawning, I turned to the window. My blood ran cold. There he was, the man in the trench coat, again, standing on the platform several feet away from the train. I gripped the armrests, my heart pounding. No, there's no way. The Amtrak goes faster than a car. How could he get here so fast? And why? Why would he be standing at the next stop when he didn't get on board? The doors whooshed open. I stared at him, face pressed against the window, watching for movement. But he didn't move. He just stood there, in the shadows, back to the train. But he was closer than last time. I could see the nape of his neck and the shadow of dark hair that poked out from under his hat. His black dress shoes shining in the light. Clack! I jumped, but it was only the doors clanking shut. The train rumbled underneath me, and then we were pulling away. The man and the station replaced with open fields of grass. I pulled out my phone. I just saw the same guy at two different train stops. Aberdeen and Wilmington, I wrote, my fingers flying across the keys. It's really weird. The three dots appeared, and then Aaron replied. What? The same guy at both? Like he drove there as the train did? Yeah. My thumbs hesitated over the keys, wondering if I should tell her how strange he was, too. The trench coat, the hat, always facing away. Probably just some weirdo, I typed instead, and hit send. You should have Becca meet you when you get into New York City, Aaron texted back. And call me when you're safe back home, okay? That time, I didn't go to sleep. I stayed wide awake until we hit Philadelphia. As we pulled into the station, as I saw the myriad of street lamps twinkling in the darkness, I felt waves of relief. What is it about seeing civilization, crowds? It's like we're programmed to believe that nothing bad can ever happen in sight of other people, or that the mere presence of city lights, even if there's no one around, can drive the evil away. Nonetheless, when we pulled into the 30th Street station, there was no strange figure in a trench coat. I watched a few people get off the train car ahead of mine. a tall woman in a pink coat, a hipster guy wearing a knitted cap, a nerdy-looking businessman. Then the train pulled forward, and we plunged into the darkness. Feeling better about the whole thing, I shot off another text to Aaron. Just past Philadelphia, he wasn't there. Oh, good. I was starting to get worried. Call me when you're safe in your apartment, okay? Will do. I love you. I took the jacket off my lap, rolled it into a makeshift pillow, and leaned against the window. The darkness whipped past, and I soon was dozing off again. Now arriving in Cornwall Heights, Pennsylvania. I blearily opened my eyes. The station was small, a little shack attached to the platform. As the only lit structure, it seemed to float in the darkness, disconnected from the rest of the world. And standing there, alone on the platform, was the man in the trench coat. I jerked back. No, 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 I whispered. It can't be. He faced the train now, but his head was cut off by the height of the window. I could only see his black shoes, the buttons rising up his coat. Who the hell are you? Why are you following this train? I sat there, frozen with fear, my mind racing. The doors hissed open. This time, he moved. My heart plummeted as he slowly turned towards the front of the train, face still hidden. Then, he took a step, a slow, deliberate step towards the back of the car, then another, and another. Muggy heat crept in from the doors. Sweat ran down my neck. Move, I thought desperately. Please move. Please. Clank. The doors shut. The train groaned into motion. Relief flooded me. It's okay. I'm okay, I repeated in my head, trying to steady my pounding heart. The train swayed as it picked up speed, racing through the darkness. I'm okay. Click. A small sound coming from behind me. I whipped around. No. He was inside. He stood in the vestibule at the back of the car, facing away from me, trench coat hanging loosely from his shoulders. I jumped out of my seat, backed along the aisle. No, no, no. I turned and ran for the next car, pounding the open button. The doors whooshed open. I ran inside, glancing behind me. He was halfway down the aisle now, back still towards me. I bolted. The doors slid open into the next train car. Help! I shouted, but this car was empty too, just like the last. Can anyone hear me? Help! The lights flickered, then went out. Static crackled over the speakers. Help! Whoosh! The vestibule doors opened. He faced me now. His face was hidden in the shadows of his hat, but I could make out a long nose, a twisted mouth, grotesque proportions that didn't seem quite human. He took slow, heavy steps towards me. Then he stopped. What do you want? I screamed. His head was canted to the side. Why are you following me? Silence stretched out between us. It felt only like minutes, but it must have been longer, because the train was soon groaning to a stop. Now arriving in Trenton, New Jersey. The doors hissed open. I ran out onto the platform, shaking, crying. When I got down to the parking lot, I glanced back. The lights were back on in the train, and in the window, I saw his figure standing in the aisle. Then, the train pulled away, and there was only silence. I didn't hear about the crash until the next day. The train derailed between Newark Penn Station and New York. A mangled mess of fire, metal, twisted and fused to the rails. The train was empty, however. The only casualty was the conductor, and no man in a trench coat was ever found.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silking, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store. caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, while my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word or sign in parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thou soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and by all means, if you want to watch some more killer videos, they're up there. You want to watch some more survivor videos, they're up there. See you next time.